This is milkweed. It's a plant that we've never planted in the garden. It's come up naturally. And we don't mow it down for one specific reason, because it is a very essential plant for the development of the monarch butterfly. Monarchs migrate from Mexico up to the United States and into Canada. They seek out milkweed to lay their larvae on. And the larva feeds off the milkweed. It's the only plant that the larva will feed off of until it reaches status that it can go on its own way. Now, you may have milkweed on your property and you're not even aware of it, or been mowing it down for years. There's many different species of milkweed. You just can't go and get a specific kind and plant in your area and expect the monarch butterflies to come. Now, different states and municipalities are changing the way they do their mowing along the highways. For instance, the Oklahoma State is changing how they mow so they can leave more milkweed for the monarch butterflies to lay their larvae on. Again, it comes up, it can be an invasive plant, as over here we've worked this bed to replant grass and they've come back up. Now, recently on our podcast, we have Mike Nowak from the Mike Nowak Show on Q4 Radio out of Chicago, Illinois. He comes on each program with his environmental report, the state of the environment as he sees it. Recently, he did a small segment about how we can help the monarch butterfly better increase its numbers, or maybe what we're doing to decrease the numbers of the monarch butterfly. And here is that segment in its entirety as an audio-only file.
Well, it's time for the regular appearance by our good friend from Q4 Radio in Chicago, Illinois. Mike Nowak joins us each program with his take and his environmental report on how we can be better stewards of the planet that he, us, and you live on. So here is Mike Nowak.
And now to a man who's not afraid to tell you what you need to do to keep the planet he lives on clean.
Take your food scraps out to your compost pile. Screw in a compact fluorescent light bulb. Turn on a window fan instead of an air conditioner. Low flow, baby. Shower heads and toilets. Take one napkin at Starbucks instead of 6.
Mike Nowak.
Welcome to another installment of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Environmental Report. I'm Mike Nowak, and you can hear me live each Sunday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time on Q4 Radio, which streams at QUE4.org and on the Q4 Radio Facebook page. You can also get my podcasts at MikeNowak.net, MikeNowak.net. I recently did a radio segment about how the garden clubs of Illinois are trying to get their constituents to plant more milkweed to help the endangered monarch butterfly. Monarchs are the only butterfly to migrate seasonally, some traveling as much as 3,000 miles from as far north as Canada to the Oyamo fir forests of the Sierra Madre in Mexico, which means that they are exposed to dangers in many different kinds of environments along the way. In a nutshell, the population of one of the most iconic insects on the planet has crashed, mostly because of, surprise, human activity. I'm talking about rampant land development, deforestation, and our use of herbicide-resistant crops, which lets farmers destroy milkweed stands while the crops survive. Climate change isn't helping much either. Wait a second. We're causing that too. Looks like we're batting 1,000 against the monarchs. Now, you might have heard that the population has gone from more than 1 billion in the late 1990s to roughly 35 million a couple of winters ago. While that number has risen modestly, a new study by the Monarch Conservation Science Partnership reveals that there is a substantial probability of quasi-extinction of the eastern monarch butterfly migratory population within 20 years if ambitious habitat restoration and conservation goals are not achieved. Quasi-extinction means that the population reaches levels that are so low that it would be unlikely to recover. Even the Obama administration has gotten into the act, introducing a plan to plant milkweed on federally owned land along I-35 from Texas to Minnesota as a way of increasing the population. However, that plan has been criticized by some as being inadequate. At least monarchs are on their radar, not literally, of course. But the strangest thing I've heard of are the so-called monarch farms, where thousands of the butterflies are commercially raised and sold to charities, which then charge people to release them as part of their fundraiser. The problem is that those monarch farms are largely unregulated. One researcher says that at least half of those outfits produce diseased insects. Famed lepidopterist Robert Michael Pyle writes, quote, "When celebrants are misled into thinking that they are doing something ecologically acceptable, even positive, by tossing monarchs into the void at their events, they are in fact a party to a scientific vandalism. Rather than acting green, they are helping to undermine our ability to correctly interpret the response of wild monarchs to all the challenges they face." End quote. But a lot of folks like to raise monarchs and release them. What should they do, as long as they're not doing it commercially? Well, for one thing, they can go to a group called the Monarch Joint Venture for information on rearing monarchs responsibly. Perhaps the best thing they might do is plant milkweed wherever they can. But even that has its challenges. There are more than 100 species of Asclepias, which is the milkweed genus, that grow in North America, and it's important to plant the species that are native to your region. Some of that seed has been hard to get, which is a reason to visit another great organization, Monarch Watch, and check out their milkweed market or their directory of milkweed vendors to find out how to get Asclepias that is appropriate for your area. Go to monarchwatch.org or monarchjointventure.org for more information how to help, not exploit, this wonderful creature. They both have Facebook pages, too. That's the state of our environment today. I hope you catch the Mike Nowak Show on Q4 Radio, QUE4.org, which you can always link to at my website, MikeNowak.net. Go green or go home.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.